G'day and welcome back to Derriere Farms, where today we are going to be talking about Farming Simulator 22's Precision Farming DLC, which is set to be released April 19th, right after Easter. For those of you not familiar with precision farming, or who did not use it in Farming Simulator 19 but want to know more about it, I will be linking a video at the end of this one which shows what precision farming did in Farming Simulator 19 and how you used it. What we are interested in today is Precision Farming 22's DLC new features, and not what was already in the game from 19, because we know about that. We want to know what new features they are putting in the game. Reluctantly, the first blog I want to talk about is the introduction, or what Giants is calling the introduction of crop sensors. Why I gave a little bit of a sigh there was crop sensors existed in Precision Farming 19. They were a mod that a very clever modder put out shortly after the release of Precision Farming. And they saved a lot of time. You could drive around, take your nitrogen samples, your pH samples, and nitrogen, pH, and soil type samples all in one go. You didn't have to keep drilling holes in the ground. So I'm guessing that's why Giants has introduced, or will be introducing, the ability to purchase a soil type map for Precision Farming 22. What Giants talks about with their sensors for 22 is sustainable nitrogen fertilization. You can purchase the sensors to measure the actual nitrogen needs of your crop in real time during the application of fertilizer. So there's what a basic map looked like in Farming Simulator 19 without any nitrogen on it. Both the biomass and nutrient contents of your crops vary across each field, seasonally too. So you need to measure it and apply fertilizer accordingly. Using a crop sensor helps you reach the highest nitrogen score in your overall environmental score. However, if you don't use crop sensors, your yield will be lower in some parts of the field. Based on the map, all fertilizer spreaders will then automatically apply the correct amount of fertilizer once you've attached the crop sensors. There are two types of crop sensors coming. There is the Azaria Pro, which is now on the top of the screen, and it's an active sensor, and it can be used either day or night. And obviously, as you can see, it is tractor mounted. So that's very much like the sensor we had in Farming Simulator 19, except now it has a brand name instead of being called Lizard. But it will only measure nitrogen. You can also get passive sensors, which will mount to the mirrors on your tractor, and these can only be used during the daytime. You will be able to purchase these after installing the DLC. You'll be able to purchase them at the dealership in configuration for all tractors. Note, this is kind of curious. Sensors can only be used when the crop has enough green leaves for the sensors to detect the differences. For grains like wheat, for example, the best time to use the sensor is during the mineral fertilization application in the springtime. So once you've made it through winter and the winter wheat starts growing again, I guess is what they're saying, is then you use the sensor. What confuses me is a returning feature from Farming Simulator 19's Precision Farming is the variable mineral fertilizer application rate, which you applied when you were seeding, if you had a seeder or a planter that could apply fertilizer. Your soil analysis told you the type of ground you needed or were going over, and it would accordingly apply enough nitrogen, either to raise the level or keep it as is, so you weren't wasting nitrogen. And that was good for the whole planting cycle. Like I said, that's supposed to be a returning feature, so does this conflict with crop sensors? I don't know. We will have to wait and see. Now, let's talk about the next new feature announced. And it's much more interesting and less confusing because it's an interesting way of operating. And I actually went to the John Deere website where they explain precision farming and weed control and quite a few other things. And this kind of matches up with what John Deere is all about with their precision farming. Okay. They keep talking about, okay, spot spraying reduces herbicide usage. Firstly, with the Precision Farming free DLC for Farming Simulator 22, the weed growth on your fields will change. A new spraying option is added, and the way you control weeds will have an effect on the environmental score of your farm. Let's take a look. I would love to know how this environmental score works. I'm guessing it's one of the soon-to-be released blocks. As you can see from this picture, in Farming Simulator 22, weeds won't appear as evenly spread out as they do in the normal game. So right now, normal field, you have weeds pretty much evenly spread. It's just a matter of using a hoe, a weeder, or a sprayer to get rid of them, depending on what stage they're at, or plowing. But as you can tell from the picture, they kind of vary completely. There's only two weeds over here. There's a nice little patch there. There's one lonely weed there. So it's very much variable. I guess kind of like weeds appear in real fields, as they say. I'm not quite sure. That means, as they do not grow all over the field, you have the chance to save a lot of herbicide, and therefore money, since you don't have to treat the whole field. Simultaneously, the reduced usage of herbicide will have a positive effect on your environmental score. Over the days when you just turn on your sprayer and cover the whole field with herbicide. Instead, you need a special sprayer using so-called spot spraying technology. This will save you up to 90% of the herbicide, reducing costs and protecting the environment. See and Spray and I'll talk about that in a second. With the Precision Farming DLC, we introduced the John Deere R732i Power Spray. Thanks to its See and Spray feature using machine vision and artificial intelligence software, each nozzle of the sprayer will only turn on to apply herbicide when there are actual weeds for them. A set of cameras using specialized software can distinguish between crops from weeds. Even though weeds are detected, the nozzle's open and the herbicide is applied. You need to add spot spraying configuration in the shop when buying the sprayer at the dealership. More info coming soon. So, See and Spray is a unique technology to John Deere, and they actually have, I think it's a 5-minute video on explaining how it works, and it's kind of like John's explained. Each nozzle between the rows actually has a camera, and the camera is sensitive enough to take a detailed picture, which is analyzed by the computer. The computer can actually recognize the weed and the type of weed it is, and then it will spray the appropriate amount of herbicide onto that weed. And a lot of the farmers that have been demoing this technology said in the video that it was detecting weeds that they would have missed otherwise. That's how sensitive the camera is. And it was spraying weeds that were barely emerged, which is something they didn't think they would be able to do. So the only question I have here is, are you going to have to buy the R732i Power Spray? Or will... Yep, you need to add the spot spray configuration in the shop when buying the sprayer at the dealership. So to me that sounds like when you purchase this sprayer has See and Spray technology. Otherwise, with this one, type of field with a regular one, you have to drive around and kind of apply the herbicide where the weeds are, but the weeds are no longer going to be all over the field, so you don't have to worry about it. We'll have to look into that in much more detail, either when more information is released or when precision farming is, or when more. Sorry, I'll try again in English. Either when precision farming is released or Giants gives us more information. I know the technology is also available from John Deere on the self-propelled sprayers that they have, and that was what was demoed in the video, not the small sprayer like this one. My initial thoughts are since it's a John Deere technology, it will be reserved for John Deere sprayers. However, that would upset a lot of people, so I'm thinking that they're going to find a way, or there is some sort of an agreement in place where they will allow it to be attached to either Kuhn or Case or New Holland sprayers and have it work that way. Okay, next up is variable rate seeding and drilling. This is new. It wasn't something that existed in Farming Simulator 19. You had variable rate fertilization while drilling, but it didn't actually control the rate of seed. Seed was a constant. Now, obviously, different soil types require different amounts of seed to get a good germination rate. Loam being the best, heavy clays have a tendency, depending on the weather, to either soak the ground and rot the seed or form a hard crust over the top, which the seed can't necessarily get through. So as Giants describes it, the benefits of variable rate seeding and drilling are, in some areas of your fields, you can reduce the seed rate while still maintaining the same yield level. On the other hand, some areas may require a higher seed rate to improve competitiveness against weeds and reach full yield potential. Ultimately, this means more yield and fewer weeds. Okay, so again, weeds. It's interesting the way they're talking about dealing with weeds. It looks like there's going to be far more options than we had in 19 and far more options than we have in the base game right now to adjust your weeds. Three seed rate options available are low, standard, and high. And you can either select the auto mode or switch to the seed rate manually. Turning on automatic seed rate will always ensure the ideal seed rate for each part of your field. Seeding in manual mode, on the other hand, the small bar below the circles indicate which of the three possible seed rates would be optimal for the current soil type. You need to switch between the seed rates accordingly. I personally, based on that, same as variable rate fertilization, variable rate seeding now. In 19, we also had variable rate lime spreading. I let the equipment take care of it because it was a big hassle to try and constantly match up. As you can see, this field here, you're matching up 3 different types of soil, and it's going to take you a second or two to realize the soil type's changing. And yeah, just let the tractor do it, I would say. The Giants then gives an example of the way different crops are affected by different rates and the type of soil. As you can see, loamy sand or loam are the two best. Loam requires a low seeding level. Sandy loam requires a standard seeding level. Silty clay is pretty much high across the board, as is loamy sand. So you better hope that a lot of the fields you have are either loam or sandy loam and not loamy sand or silty clay. I'm not going to get into the whole differences in real life between the soil types. That's what farmers pay agronomists for. The ideal seed rate also depends on the highest fertility Um, Okay, of course, you need to know what type of soil you're seeding. You need to take soil samples on the first field first, or purchase a soil map if you don't want to take the samples manually. That's pretty much how it worked in the previous version. And every once in a while, then after, you would have to either bring an agronomist to take a soil map of the entire area, or a field, or like I said, you would have to do it yourself. This is going to be very interesting, especially with the economic analysis and other features returning from Farming Simulator 19, and how they affect your crop types. Depending on where and what you plant, certain crops may not be the most economical anymore. Again, something we will have to do experiments on. Okay, and finally, the latest information released today, and that's why I chose to do it today. Giants released information regarding precision manure sensors, or precision farming, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what they say is, if your farm operation relies on liquid manure, the Precision Farming DLC for Farming Simulator 22 will make your fertilization process more efficient thanks to manure nitrogen sensors. Find out more below. Managing heterogeneous manure. As liquid manure is never homogeneous, measuring its nutrient content as it's applied to the soil is an important new technology towards more sustainable and precise fertilization. With precision farming activated in Farming Simulator 22, the concentration of nitrogen in manure will always vary. That also means the applied amount of nitrogen can differ from the expected application rate quite heavily, up to 40%. This is definitely new. In Farming Simulator 19's Precision Farming, you could spread manure as a base, but it had a base value, I believe, unless you either manually turned it up or down. If you were just spreading it on a plain field of 60 was its nitrogen generation, but it looks like it's going to be more. John Deere Manure Sensing. So, yeah, it looks like that will be an add-on for this slurry tanker. And it also kind of answers the question about sprayers. While the John Deere sprayer will be available, if they're doing it with manure spreaders, I'm sure they're going to do it with herbicide or fertilizer or sprayers in general, where you can add the sensing technology. To compensate for this consistent fluctuation, each slurry tanker in the game now has an option to install the manure sensing system. See, they didn't say that part in the sensors for sprayers. They just said they just talked about the John Deere sprayer. This near-infrared sensor measures the current nitrogen content of the manure. What the With that information, the application rate will be dynamically adjusted as the machine travels across the field, so you can apply the precise amount of nutrients your crops desire. Yeah, basically, as we saw, you can add the configuration at the dealer when you buy the sprayer. Whether it's going to mean you use more or less manure, I'm not sure, because right now, manure tanker, this really actually only talks about, looking through it, it only talks about manure sensors. And manure, see, it talks about manure there, but it only talks to compensate for this constant fluctuation. Each slurry tanker in the game now has the option to install. So that kind of indicates to me that manure spreaders won't have the ability to use this sensor. It'll just be slurry tankers. Either which way, it'll be interesting to see how they work, like I said, because right now, when you try and spray a field with slurry, your tanker empties pretty darn quickly. So hopefully this will reduce the amount of slurry that you're going through, so you can actually make it through more than a field or two with a barn full of cows and a barn full of pigs. So, more information to come. I'm guessing we will get a full breakdown of the environmental score soon. We have crop sensors, seeding, it looks like the environmental score is the only thing left to cover. And I'm sure we will be getting a blog on that next week. John's also said Fact Sheet Fridays are returning. If you missed the news video, along with the free DLC for Precision Farming, Giants is going to be releasing either at the same time or shortly after another patch. And along with the patch, they're going to be releasing a content update. So it'll be interesting to see if Fact Sheet Fridays cover Precision Farming, or if it just covers what's coming up as the free content update. Because not everyone is going to want to play with precision farming. Some people are going to find it too complicated. Although, if you take the time to get to learn it, it's a really good way of improving the yield of your fields, and it looks like it's only going to be that much better in Farming Simulator 22. As usual, sound off below. Leave me a comment as to what you think precision farming is going to do to your farm or help your farm. Leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe, because we release new videos, hopefully now that I'm better, on a regular basis. Take care, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.